Uh, 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 Here, let me pull it up on my phone.
Okay, I'm
And
gonna.
here, real
Oh,
quick.
you added the slide for me. Perfect. Thank
Here,
you.
I'm gonna take my headset off just so I can hear real quick.
Okay.
Oh, hold on. Why is my Hold on. Let me make sure. Oh, hold on. I know what's wrong here. Okay. I think I do. Let's see. Oh, it was working just fine a second ago. Hold on. Got to figure out what's going on here. So it can pick up me. I need to make sure that it can hear you as well.
Okay, gonna test real quick. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, okay. It's able to pick you up.
Sweet. Okay, and then let me check some like. Will we get copyrighted if we play Deltarune music?
I actually have no idea. All right. I need to figure out how to correctly capture this window real quick. It's only capturing part of it at the moment. Let's see. Okay. Oh, here we go. All right, everyone on stream is going to see me editing on OBS right now. Charlie, you still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you. So I'm seeing if I can use it as background music on a like if we monetize the video.
I don't know. I
It says,
know when it comes to copyright, Deltarune can be kind of weird.
oh, let's just call it good on the music then.
Okay, let me try this. It's not going to look the best, but I think... All right, what about now? How does this... Let me put it into... Oh, okay, that's pretty good. You might pull up my stream and see if you think it looks good.
Let me check. Hold on one second.
You keep talking. I'm gonna unmute my stream real quick and make sure that I'm still picking you up. Okay.
Okay, and then after I check, I may just exclusively run the TikTok one, just so we can keep that posted. It does look good.
Okay. Okay. So I can hear you. Okay. I'm popping up. Okay.
Yeah,
Looks like
excuse me.
the
Sorry.
picture's not quite as big as I would like, but I think it's the best I can do, fitting the window on here. But it should be fine enough for what we're going for.
Yeah, no, it looks great though. I'm personally a fan.
Okay.
And then for TikTok Studio, I'm good to go.
Okay.
On my end.
Let me advertise that we're. Oh, should we wait? I guess should we wait officially till 8 p.m. to actually do it, since that's when we said, or do you think people don't care?
I posted that on my TikTok and my Instagram, so I think we should probably wait till 8.
Okay, that's fine.
I wish we could.
Yeah, we got everything set up. We should be good to go.
Hold on one second. Deltarune music in my monetized live stream. Because, real talk, like, if we can, it might be beneficial to just go ahead and start the stream and then just play some, like, green room music.
Oh, yeah, it's a good idea. Let's see. I don't know. I'm gonna assume we're gonna get like 5 viewers. I'm gonna just say that we're probably gonna be okay.
Yeah, I'm sure it's fine.
Let me play. Hold on. I don't have like a stream starting soon screen or anything, though. I'm gonna have to get that made.
We could just put it on our on the slide of our little like caricatures.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Because that like, what the frick nuts? Hold on. Oh, I have it open in 2 tabs.
Okay, let me.
Okay.
I'll add a little text box here saying starting soon.
All right, and I'm gonna mute. I'm gonna mute everything on the stream, and then I'm gonna start us up.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm gonna mute myself real quick and play the music and see how it pops up on the stream.
Sorry. Chapter 5 theories and.
All right, here, hold on, real quick. Let me see if I pop up. If my voice is going through. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right, we're good, and the music pops up. Okay. So I'm gonna let that play. And Liam just asked how long we're gonna be going for. I'm gonna respond to him on my phone real quick. So I'm gonna mute myself over here, and I'll unmute pretty soon.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Be back soon.
Got it. Dude, we already got 13 viewers on my TikTok. Paul, dude, we've currently got 25 viewers on my TikTok.
I'm gonna pause the stream music real quick. Sorry, you said we have what?
We have 25 viewers on my TikTok so far.
Yo, all right, here I'm almost done. I'm sharing the stream on Instagram. And then we'll be good to go.
I'm getting mine all finished up. Okay, we're good.
Okay, let me finish this up. Let me make sure that goes to my stream. Yes, it does. Okay, I think we're good. I'll keep my phone handy on me just so I can make sure. Let me put my phone on Do Not Disturb real quick.
Yeah, as will I.
Okay. All right.
Um. Okay. Let me send a link to the live on my TikTok.
Okay.
Okay. Let me send the Twitch link to this kid I know real quick.
Let's see. Can we invite Liam to the call, or do we need to make a brand
Yeah.
new
So
one?
I don't have him on Discord.
Oh yeah, you're
So
right.
you'll need to click add, and then yeah.
Okay. Let me figure out how to do this real quick. Uh,
Okay.
we have 2 viewers. I think that might just be me on my phone. Oh no, my brother's got it pulled up as well.
On my end, we have 29.
Dude, here, add to DM. Okay,
And
we got
then I
Liam in
just
here.
sent.
All
Okay.
right, here.
Sweet.
It's probably gonna start a new call. I'm gonna call in this chat. Okay.
Okay. I'll join that one. Okay. What up?
Okay, you hear me all right?
I can hear you just fine. Yes.
All right. Yo, Liam, you in here?
Hello. Hello.
Dude, let's do it here. Liam, you
Oh.
hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me
Am
make
I
sure.
okay?
Let me make sure it's capturing your guys' voices real quick, and then we'll be good to go.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. All right. I'm gonna mute myself real quick. You guys just say test or something, so I can make sure you're on the stream audio. All right. I'm muting myself now.
Got it.
All right.
All right. Test. Test. 1 2 1 2.
Hello. Test.
Okay. All right. You guys are good.
Okay. And then I'm about to kickstart. Oh crap. I'm about to kickstart my stuff.
Okay. I'll have this pulled up on my. Oh. Oh. Will says Paul's a little quiet. Do you guys? Am I a little quiet?
I
Maybe?
can hear you fine, but
Let me turn it up on OBS slightly. I'm still in the green here. Hello,
okay.
hello. Okay. I think that should be good. Will, you can say things in the chat if my brother's
What's the
watching, so he'll
TikTok
be our test
channel?
streamer.
Okay.
Okay,
And then
you guys ready to go?
I'm gonna unmute me real quick, okay?
Okay.
What is up, everybody? This is an audio test for the stream. Here, can everyone else say like hi or whatever?
Would it be what it
Hello.
do?
All right. So
What's the TikTok?
the TikTok is basically underscore Ingenium.
Okay.
Okay.
Alright, so are
So
we officially good to get started?
I'm ready to roll if y'all are. So sounds like a plan.
Liam, you good?
Yeah.
Alright,
Yeah.
hey, would it be what it do, everyone, whoever may be watching this? It's probably just gonna be us three for most of us, probably but whatever. It'll be fun. So the goal of this is I've prepared some slides here. We're going to talk about like what do we think is going to happen in Deltarune Chapter 5. Liam is newer to Deltarune. I think he just got done watching most of 4, but he's a theory
Yeah.
crafter, so he'll be a good addition to the group here. I think
Yeah.
maybe. Oh, sorry, you're going to say something?
Yeah. Finish your thought. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think the best way of doing this, I discussed this with Charlie earlier, is I have kind of my whole thoughts dedicated into sections here. And I think maybe the best thing to do is we go slide by slide. Charlie said most of my slides cover what we're probably going to talk about anyway. So I think maybe we just go slide by slide. Maybe I can say what I have to say, and then if you guys want to say something, you chime in. Do you think that's a good way of doing it?
No, that sounds great. Yeah. Then we can
Yeah.
just kind of like spur discussion from there.
Yeah,
As for before we start, if everyone would be cool like introducing themselves for like the viewers on TikTok and Twitch or whatever, that'd be great. So
right.
from left to right on the little picture. So let's start with Liam.
Hi. I'm Liam. I don't really know what to say.
That's pretty solid. Pretty solid.
I'm Liam.
All right, what's up, Charlie?
So I'm Charlie. I am portrayed as the one and only rules card in this photo we have here, and I am a massive Deltarune fan. So I'm excited to be getting into some theories today.
What's up, everyone? My name's Paul. My background, I'm an English teacher. Liam and Charlie are former students of mine. So I actually think this group is really well equipped to have this conversation, because a lot of what we're going to talk about in this stream is themes, right? I think a lot of what we're going to be predicting is just what we think, like how this chapter is going to add on to kind of what Deltarune's themes have been already. So I think like all three of us, I think we're going to have a lot of really cool things to say. So I'm ready to get started if you guys are.
I am as well. So let's get right into it.
Okay, before we get into like actual chapter 5 stuff, I figured maybe just a couple pre-chapter 5 stuff. And Liam, I think you saw this stuff. I think you said you watched like the last 15 minutes of 4 at least, even though you couldn't watch the whole thing.
Yeah, I did. And then before we actually started this, I watched a lore thing just to make sure, and I have it all down. I'm pretty good. It's if I'm confused on something, it
Yeah. Uh-oh. Hold on, someone leave the call. Oh. Uh-oh. Does that mean? I think I accidentally... Let's see. Uh-oh. That's not good. Hold on, everyone. Okay, sorry. You guys hear me?
Yeah, no, you're on the air.
All right, sorry, I don't know what happened. All right, we're good. Okay,
Okay.
so Liam should be good to go.
yeah.
Okay, first thing I thought we'd talk about is what we last saw with chapter 4, which is we don't get to see what the final prophecy is going to be. Susie shatters it before we were able to see what it is, but we know that it's probably something bad. And I guess I'll start with my thoughts first. I think maybe, I think there's two main possibilities, and I'm curious to see what you guys think. I think when I played it for the first time, my kind of guess was that Susie would die, which I know Liam hates Susie, so I know that would be his preferred outcome.
Which is a
Yeah.
crazy hot take for the record.
Yeah.
That's quite controversial.
And I say
Yeah.
this because earlier in their chapter, it like Susie talks a lot about how like being in the prophecy is the first time she's been picked for anything. So it kind of seems like dramatic irony that this wonderful thing happens to her just for her to die anyway. But I think probably the more likely one, which is even worse for Liam because Liam loves Rouse, is the whole game we know Rouse he's very self-conscious. He doesn't really see himself as his own person. Like there's the whole scene in chapter 4 where we see his bedroom and it has nothing in it. And
unless you give him the plushie in chapter 2.
Yeah, you were correct. But when the prophecy is shattered, Susie singles Rouse out specifically, saying Rouse especially won't let that happen. So my question is, okay, well if she singles Rouse out specifically, then maybe it has something to do with him. And in that case, I think, I don't know, maybe the thing that happens is the game ends with sealing all dark fountains, meaning Rouse and the others as well would die in the process. I don't know. That's kind of the two ways I could see it going. Charlie, I guess we could start with you. What do you think?
Okay, so hold on, my slides got all jacked up. Give me 1 second. Okay,
No worries.
so I think personally, I am on the train of Susie is thinking she's dying, but it's actually Noelle, which is not mentioned here. Because I do think she saw the girl will die, right? She thinks it's her, but it's actually Noelle. And I think that's going to lead into this. Sorry, I don't mean to completely like derail the slide.
No,
but
that's cool.
I think the reason for that is we're gonna set up Susie is trying to prevent the prophecy from happening. thinking that she is the girl, so she's trying to avoid all these different things from happening. But in turn, the dramatic irony will be in her trying to avoid it, she's actually setting it up to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because like I guess maybe something we'll discuss here more in a little bit is that Susie may not even be a part of the prophecy, because that was a popular theory at the time as well. Was that Noelle was actually the second hero, and that Susie is here by accident. Here, but before we go into more than that, Liam, you got anything you want to add?
What? Well, it's more of a question. Well, never mind. Keep keep going on. If I have a question, I can say.
Sure. So yeah, we'll go on to the next slide for now. But
Yeah,
like, that's the
because I'm tracking.
like that's the that's the possibility of where I think it could be going. I think it either has to do something with Rousey or maybe what Charlie said. Oh, someone's typing in the chat as well. The Snowgrave route also is completely about manipulating Noelle. Yeah, so it could very well have something to do with Noelle as well. I just think that since Susie specifically singles out Rousey, that it's more likely to do with him. So that's my guesses, but let's move on for now.
Okay.
And yeah, we talked
The
about
next slide.
that Susie may not even be in the prophecy.
That's
And again,
like
I
the
say
one
this
thing.
because like earlier in the chapter, Susie talks a lot about how it being in this prophecy is the first time she's ever been picked for anything. So again, it goes back to irony. You know, it's tragic that she comes all this way and she learns that she wasn't even really a part of it in the first place. But I think that kind of goes along with what the theme of the game is, because a big theme of chapter 4 is to not let your life be decided by fate, right? Gerson talks a lot about forging your own future and making your own path. And I think, it's Susie being here is kind of a good thing, right? It's like, she managed to be here by accident and still be a hero, so it doesn't really matter that she's not really a true part of the prophecy. So I would, a lot of people really don't like this theory. I think that would be really cool if she was just here by accident. You guys have anything to add?
I agree. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Liam, go ahead.
No, I think that I think that would be good, because you could go off of like, dang, this was supposed to be my thing. I was picked for this. It was finally my time, you know. So I think that that'd be really good, like storyline to explore, and that might actually make me like Susie a little more. I don't know. It's just every time playing through chapters 1, 2, 3, it's like every time Susie like said something, I would just get irritated. So I don't know why really, but I think that might help me like her, and it would also be kind of just good to see, and you could get a lot of good interactions with Susie based off of that.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, Liam. Yeah, again, to specify, Liam does not like Susie. That's probably going to be a big reoccurring theme for this stream. But I think that is a cool idea.
Agreed.
It for sure makes Liam is right. It for sure makes Susie a more sympathetic character. If she was never in the prophecy to begin with.
I like it because I think it allows for the theme of the game to not be as hopeless as Toby had set it up to be in chapter 1, right?
For sure.
Like, we went from Undertale, where it's like every decision matters, right? And then we went to Deltarune, and it's like no matter what you do, it's one ending. Is kind of the premise that we had been given. But what really gets me with it is I think that if Susie isn't meant to be the hero in the prophecy, we are then opening the door to, okay, this is my quote unquote fate, but I don't have to follow what the world expects me to be, what the story expects me to be. I can forge my own destiny, which is kind of like a pretty good life lesson, you know? Like, don't let preconceived notions about yourself be what defines you, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Like,
Yeah.
Like it kind of falls in line with everything the game has kind of been establishing so far. And for My Hero Academia fans, maybe this is a strange reference. Like, I think this reminds me of season 4, right? In season 4, there's a whole big thing where All Might thinks he's going to die because it's been fated to happen. And later in the season, right, you learn that maybe fate can be changed, right? So I don't know. That's
Rest in peace, the goat.
or again, I loved it. If you're a former student of mine, you know I love Shakespeare's Macbeth. That's a big thing in Macbeth as well. Is like, is your life controlled by fate, or do you have the choice to make your life your own? So, I agree. I think that's kind of where it's headed. All right, now we can officially, unless Liam or Charlie have something else they want to add, now we can officially like get into actual Chapter 5 stuff.
No, yeah, I'm ready to get in if y'all are.
I am, yeah.
All right, let's
All
do
right.
it.
Okay.
Okay.
Chapter 5, Asgore's plot, his motivations, and Chapter 5's theme.
Right. So a lot of we'll get into like the actual series of events of the chapter later. Right now, I kind of want to just touch on like the broad strokes of what's going to happen.
We talked about this, right?
Yeah, like I've discussed this with both of you guys. So like,
Okay.
I think it's pretty clear that the main conflict of this game is, so most people have already kind of concluded that this chapter is going to be in Flower King. That's where the Dark World is going to be. And I think what's going to happen here is Asgore has been rejected by Toriel the whole game. And he's going to make a Dark World, and it's going to be kind of like a safe haven for him, like a place where he can be. It's a place where he can basically live out all of his fantasies. And he's not going to want to leave. He will have made this paradise for himself, where it gives him everything he wants, and it gives him the life that he's been desperately trying to get back. And the conflict is going to be like having to convince him to leave, that he can't be here forever. You guys kind of agree that's where this is probably headed?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Because it's the perfect inverse to what we've watched as of late, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
In Chapter 4, that is.
And we'll get more into like, how that ties into the game's themes here in a little bit. Let me present kind of the first piece of evidence. And again, like most people already agree that it is going to be in Flower King, but I don't know if everyone is on the same page that that's why the Dark World is made. So I kind of want to talk about that for a second. So in Chapter 4, right, you get this prophecy. Liam, I don't know if you saw this. I think I included it, but you may have missed it. So you get this prophecy in Chapter 4, which is very clearly Asgore saying the Flower Man trapped in an asylum. And the word asylum, right, I know I'm getting really English teacher here, but like getting into word definitions, but I think it's important, is the definition of asylum. It's someone who's granted protection, who has left their native world and has gone to another world for protection. So in this case, hometown, he's leaving hometown and seeking asylum in a foreign land. That's why I say I don't think Asgore is trapped in the Dark World, right? It's just, this is his asylum. This is where he wants to be, and it gives him everything he wants, so he doesn't want to leave. And I think we're all on the same page on that.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think his dialogue in Chapter 4 is also really hinting at that. You know, he's a control freak at heart, almost.
Yeah.
In regards to he wants to fix everything himself. And with that in mind, I think that's what's leading to him forming his Dark World. You know?
Yeah, and I'll kind of mention my own thing later in terms of like, the inciting incident. Like, what is the thing that makes them to create it? But moving on for now, there's also one more thing about this.
You think he'll be the antagonist, right?
Do what?
You think he'll be the antagonist?
I think for sure, and I'll talk about that more here in a second. But I think he is either going to be the main antagonist or at least a secondary antagonist, right? Because like later we'll talk about Carol, because Carol's probably also going to be a big character in this chapter. But like one more thing that I think, because we're pretty much on the same page that there is going to be a Flower King Dark World, but I think not only is it in Flower King, I think it has been there for a long time. I know I've brought this up to Liam before, but I don't know if I've talked about it much with Charlie. Uh, so in chapter 2, right, you can visit Sans shop, and Asgore will talk with Sans after getting rejected by Toriel, and I forget exactly what Asgore says to cause Sans to say this. I think Asgore Asgore asks what flowers can I get her to make Toriel feel the way she did before, and Sans says maybe you should talk to your plants about that. And in response, Asgore says, "Oh, I do all the time. They're such good listeners, you know." And at the time, you think this is some sort of joke, right? You think he's saying it figuratively.
Mm-hmm.
But with what we know is probably about to happen, I think this is probably a hint that no, he does this literally. He brings his flowers are darkners in the dark world, and he like seeks solace in them, and he talks to them. Right, we'll talk more about the actual flowers here in a bit. But I think he has had it maybe since the beginning of the game, and we're just now stumbling upon it. Cause let's see, what do I have in this
Or
next
even
slide?
before,
Do what?
even before the beginning of the game too.
Yeah,
Like obviously,
you're true. It could be before the beginning of the game, because we have not seen what is we have not seen what is behind the doors in Flower King's attic. Right, there's those locked doors behind his flowers, and we've never seen what's behind there. And I imagine that's where everyone is figuring the Dark World's going to be. So it's probably been behind there the entire time. Anything you guys want to add before we go into like, okay, what's actually going to happen in the chapter?
I mean, so far, no. I don't have anything to add yet.
well, whenever it's not like to add to it, but whenever I was going through all of the chapter, like watching, uh, Carol, I didn't. She was on the phone, right?
Like when Chris calls someone in the closet.
Yeah, yeah.
So like that's what the game at least wants us to think. Uh,
Okay,
because yeah, Chris calls someone in the closet. They says they'll be right there, and then Carol shows up right after,
okay.
which is notable because Noelle says that she's at work, right, and she shouldn't be here right now. I think that's probably a. I have no idea. Either
I feel like
voice
it
on
has to be a red herring. Like I feel like it's too obvious.
okay, either the voice on the phone is not Carol and she just happens to show up, or someone else tells her about it. Like maybe the knight can communicate with Carol, uh, or it's Carol's voice on the phone, but we think it's the knight. Either way, again, and this is something we'll talk more about later when we talk about who the knight is. I don't think Carol is the knight, but I do think either she's the voice on the phone or someone tells her um,
To
to
go.
go to the holiday house.
Okay,
I don't know. That's kind of what I think.
that
Um,
makes sense. Yeah.
but real quick, just to cap up the themes and stuff before we move on. So we've already talked about how like the main theme of chapter 4 is like to like that you can make your life the life that you want it to be, and it doesn't have to be determined by fate, right? Like you get this whole fight with Gerson, where he tells Susie about the white pen of hope, and like specifically here, he says stories can be retold, they can be changed. That's what I believe. So that's not just a one-off thing, right? Like those like again, you guys used to be in my class. Like if you know how to talk about theme, it's something that is told across the whole story. It's not just something that pops up once.
Right,
So
yeah.
obviously this is going to be something that's expanded upon. So it makes sense that not only will we continue to see this theme, but I think chapter 5 will kind of be like it'll be kind of like a foil to this theme. It'll be saying that okay, there are some things in your life that you can't change, but that doesn't mean that you can't have a life that you want anyway, right?
And
Um,
that's such an important message in my opinion.
for sure.
And I think Toby knows that because like think about everyone in the world who's born with like disabilities or any number of other things, like they can't change that. But that doesn't mean you should allow that to define you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I think Asgore will have to learn that Toriel that things aren't going to go back the way they used to be, right? Toriel is not going to be with him again. They won't be the family they were before. Whatever happened that split them all up, it's not going to go back to the way it was during then. But Asgore will learn to move past that, right? And I'll touch more on that here in a few more slides.
Right.
But basically, it continues chapter four's theme, but in a new way. And Charlie, I think you have a slide here. So do you
I
want to
do.
continue?
I do. So this is why I believe the Dark World being a kingdom makes narrative sense, along with it being what I believe to be a bit of a fan servicey chapter, probably. So as we all know, Asgore was a king in Undertale, right? So there's the obvious connection there of, oh, well, the Undertale fans are going to want to see Asgore being a king again. And Toriel was a queen in the Chapter 3 Dark World. So there's that. But also from a narrative perspective, I believe that it would make sense for the Dark World in the Flower King to be a kingdom because it is a great representation of Asgore's desire for control, right? So he is the one. He wants to fix everything. He is going to save his family. Like he desires control so heavily that the only, dark worlds are based on desire. The proper realization of his desires would be him being the king of the one thing he still has control over, which is his store.
For sure, and like, because Asgore is a very tragic character in Undertale. Like he doesn't want to have to be the person who gets these human souls, but that's kind of the role that he's been born into. Um, and yeah, you're right. He thinks he's going to be kind of like in Undertale, right? He thinks he can be the one to save the underground. He wants to be the one to save his family, which I think is cool. I agree with you.
Right. Absolutely.
And I want to point this out real quick, Liam. I don't know if you saw this when you're exploring hometown, and I mentioned this later in my slides. When you're exploring hometown with Susie, if you interact with the side of the flower shop, it says something along the lines of like you see a cork board with like a bunch of crazy stuff on it, and that's it, right? We just know he has, and Carol has a cork board in her house as well, right? That you see Asgore near. So if the game already pretty strongly suggests that they're working together, and that Asgore at least is up to something, but then this kind of reinforces that even more. That yeah, Asgore is in on some hidden plot that at least the other characters aren't aware of.
Okay.
So for sure. So I'm just letting you know that happens because that'll be context for later.
Yeah. I didn't see that, but no, I haven't noted.
Okay, sure. Yeah, and we'll bring it up later.
Okay.
And then hold on, I have another thing over themes here. Oh yeah, we already talked about this. Like Asgore is going to like the resolution of the chapter kind of is Asgore will have to learn to move on, right? He will have to accept a new life, and he'll have to leave the Dark World, right? He'll have to leave the thing that has been giving him this fantasy. And again, essentially, he writes his own future, which is the whole theme of the game. Right, I got the screenshot of Gerson here saying, "How do you want your story to end?" Right, again, really strongly suggesting that the characters have control over what is going to happen to them. So yeah, it seems like we're all, and it's also kind of mirrors. Like I think the chapter is going to end with the Fun Gang the Fun Gang being Rousey, Susie, Chris. I think the chapter will resolve by them having to confront him and again having to convince him to leave, kind of like in Undertale when you have to spare Toriel over and over to convince her to let you leave. So kind of the same thing, kind of the same character arc almost, but with Asgore instead.
Okay.
So yeah, so it seems like we're all pretty much on the same page. So I guess we're
Yeah,
going to other stuff.
I could totally see that.
Yeah, for sure. Right, and like I guess I should say already, I haven't yet. Like Asgore is my favorite character in both games. In Deltarune right now, I'd say it's probably Tenna, but at least in Undertale, it's Asgore, and it could be Asgore as well in Deltarune, depending on how this next chapter goes. So like I don't know, I'm hoping for something really like sappy and emotional, and for him to kind of get this good ending, right? Since he doesn't really get one in Undertale, right? Obviously, if you do Pacifist, Asgore doesn't end up actually dying, but
When does it come out?
I think a week from tomorrow.
Okay.
Unfortunately,
So yeah, I'm playing that on release day. I'm gonna play the whole thing in the afternoon probably.
must be nice.
uh, so I think we're all on the same page on how that's gonna go. Brief aside, real quick. Right, this is just for my Gravity Falls fans out there. Like, again, kind of referencing other, like I did with My Hero Academia earlier. Like referencing other stories that have had this same theme. Right, the second to last episode of Gravity Falls, called Escape to Reality, kind of has the exact same plot, right? For those of you who have seen the show, right, Mabel, at some point, she's betrayed by her brother Dipper, and Bill Cipher makes this prison for her, so kind of like a dark world, and she refuses to leave because it gives her everything that she wants. It has like a perfect version of Dipper. It has her friends, and the whole kind of conflict of the episode is having to convince her that she has to leave, right, and that she has to move on with her life and accept change, and that not everything can be perfect. So again, just continuing to talk about theme, I think it's pretty much going to be that exact same thing.
Now that I'm thinking about it, like off the dome, I didn't put this in slides. It would make sense if there was like flower versions of Toriel and Chris in the Dark World because,
Oh yeah.
just like Dippy Fresh, like it's
Like who he wants to talk to is like they're good listeners, so like
Right.
obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we ready to move on?
Yep. Next
Yeah.
slide.
Okay. All right. So like we know that's like in storytelling, right? You have an internal conflict and you have an external conflict, right? Internal conflict is like what emotional journey are the characters going on, but also like what physical threat are they having to overcome. Like I included this example in chapter 3. Right, the internal conflict is like Tenna is isolated. He also wants things to remain the same. So again, going with this idea of having to accept change in your life. But the external conflict is obviously they have to seal the fountain, right? And Tenna is stopping them from doing that, right, with this game show. So obviously we've discussed the internal conflict is Asgore has to be convinced to move on from his grief. But also like, okay, well, what's the actual physical threat, right? Because we are this late in the game. I don't think we're just going to have like a side adventure where there's no threats except just getting Asgore out of there. So I think maybe there are people stuck in here like this because we know this chapter takes place during the festival. So we know there's probably going to people probably going to be people going to the flower shop to get flowers. So I think there will be other people from hometown who end up in here, and they accidentally end up in the dark world. So I think it's going to be kind of those two things: is we have to save the people who wander in here. Like I don't know, maybe Caddy and Jockington wander up in here.
I really hope so.
Yeah, and I think like we know Asgore probably has one of the codes to the shelter, right? Because at this point we don't know any of the codes to the shelter. We almost get it with the guitar, but we know because we know there's a code on the guitar. We know there's a code that has something to do with the Deltarune, and then we know there's one that has to do with the police. I think right now Chris and Susie think that it's Undyne, that Undyne would have the code, but it's probably actually Asgore. So we could also have one of the external conflicts could be that the knight knows that Asgore has one of the codes and that he will probably give it to Chris and Susie. And so the knight is also in there and is also trying to get Asgore out so Chris and the others don't get to him before they do. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I didn't even consider the fact that Asgore is probably the police officer with the code.
Because and I'll talk about this later. Because it's kind of suggested that Undyne does know the shelter is kind of Undyne does know there's something up with the shelter. I think Nabstabluk says something about how Undyne never really liked to go near there. But we also know that Asgore used to be a police officer, so I think, and he almost certainly knows about the shelter and what's in there, so I think he could
So
have it as well.
so
Right.
what would be the point of taking Undyne then if she had nothing to do with it, just to have her? Or-
It's a good point, actually, but it's also worth noting that the knight also tries to take Toriel, and from what we know, Toriel has nothing to do with any of this. Um, so I think you raise a
Which
good
I think
point.
is a pretty safe bet.
Do what, Charlie?
I think that's a pretty safe bet. I don't think Toriel is going to be some big twist like, information bank.
Yeah, I think Toriel is like completely in the dark when it comes to stuff like this. I don't think she knows anything.
Dark.
So, but I do think
I
Liam
mean,
raises a good point. Why would she take Undyne? And I don't know. I think I know this
it's
is a
kind of
prediction stream.
possible.
I legitimately just don't know. Um,
It's kind of possible because in chapter 4, don't we get more about Toriel? Isn't she barely like close with like a church, and the Deltarune isn't that some sort of religion?
cause
That's
yeah,
yeah. The
cause
Deltarune is the Legend of the Hammer. It's like their
Yeah,
angel, right?
cause yeah, cause so when you tell, cause like in chapter 4, right, you have that moment where you're collecting the clues and then you relay everything you know to Susie, and Susie says that okay, um, that whoever has the code has connections with the mayor, goes to church, and is somehow involved with the police.
and
And so Toriel does go to church, but I don't think she has anything to do with the other two, aside from that she was married to Asgore. Um,
which if Asgore is the one with the code, it's possible,
so yeah,
but
so
we just have to have
oh,
more information about the third.
Also, it's highly possible that the knight took Undyne and tried to take Toriel because Chris and Susie don't have any leverage in their like speech almost. Like if
sure.
if like Chris was like, "Hey, there's these dark fountains opening up," everyone in town's gonna be like, "Oh, you're crazy and being stupid." But if Toriel or Undyne were to say that, there's gonna be some like, "Oh, okay, this might be a real thing." So it may be eliminating evidence, you know?
That's true.
For sure.
Yeah,
And Undyne is one of two cops in the town. And I guess like if you were going to try to take over the world or destroy this town or whatever, you would start by eliminating the two cops. Uh,
yeah.
but but we also know that Chris. So we know Chris is working with the knight, right? And
Yes.
uh, Chris opens the door at the end of chapter 2, knowing Undyne is going to walk in. So I don't know. So this is legitimately a gap in knowledge for me. If Undyne doesn't have the code, I don't know why. Aside from what Charlie mentioned, I don't know why it would take her. But I mean, regardless, just to cap up this slide, like I think that could be one of the threats. Is Asgore has one of the codes, and you're trying to get to him before the knight does, but he doesn't want to leave, which is making all of this harder. So so just to recap, I think that is probably the conflict.
Okay.
Anything else you guys want to say before we move on?
No.
All right, we
Not
good?
on this topic, no.
Oh yeah, and I also mentioned earlier. Again, I think the Dark World is probably here, right? This is from a
Yeah.
fan made trailer on YouTube, but it's probably here, right? You also notice the flowers are gone, right?
I
So
do like that. However, I also hope that this TV on the right is also in there because I want like old Tina.
Tenna too.
Like Mr. Dial.
Yeah, and oh, yeah. And another thing is there are superhero comics on the top of the TV, right? So some people have theorized maybe that'll be a part of the Dark World as well. Somehow is there's maybe like a superhero segment or a superhero character.
Hope
Um,
so.
I don't know. We won't get into that now, but that's just something to keep in mind.
If it is a kingdom in the Dark World, there it could be just like different roles, like the
The Knights.
yeah.
Oh yeah, you're
No,
you're
well,
right.
I guess Knights are kind of controversial right now. The
Well,
guards. The Royal Guard. Anyways.
um, so here I think. Oh yeah, last slide before we go into like the individual characters besides Asgore, since we've already talked about him a ton. Um, uh, 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 is I think Noelle is a pretty strong bet to be in this chapter. We've already seen a pre-release screenshot of the chapter of her walking around the festival with them, and we've seen her in chapter 2 already, right? Establishing that like, oh, other Lighteners can be in here and be your party members. I think it's about
Right.
time that she comes back. I think Sans is going to be here as well. I'll get more into him later. I have a slide dedicated for him specifically. And again, I think if it is during the festival and people are going to get flowers for their dates, then other people will be there as well, right? I think this could be the debut of Caddy and Jockington in there.
All bets on Caddy and Jockington, and because I am like very confident that a lot of these characters have been based on D&D classes, like how their powers work, I think we're gonna have Jockington the I was gonna say barbarian, but that doesn't make any sense. I think we're gonna have like Caddy the warlock and Jockington either the barbarian or like the monk. Like
Wait,
I think
wouldn't Susie be the barbarian?
Susie would be the barbarian, but I'm thinking like, yeah, no, good point, because you wouldn't want to double up on classes. But I mean, Birdley has a halberd, so
Oh,
I don't know
yeah,
for
right.
sure. I think maybe I bet Jockington doesn't end up having anything crazy going on with him.
Make him a druid.
Oh man, good call. Yeah, I like that. That's the one. All right. Anyways.
We do know that Jockington does grow the beard in this show.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, good point.
And just to wrap up this slide, other reasons that maybe the knight is going after Asgore is we do know, and this is a good time to talk about the secret scenes of Asgore in Chapter 4. We know Asgore is holding a black shard, right? Which, when I first saw the scene, I thought that was referring to a shadow crystal.
Yeah.
But
That's what I thought it was too.
The black shard is the weapon you pick up from defeating the knight in Chapter 3.
Yes.
And also if when you, because you know how items you pick up in the dark world have a different description in the light world. With a shadow crystal, I think in the light world it's just glass.
It's black glass.
But a black shard remains a black shard in the light world. It doesn't change. Which I think the only item in the game to do that. So we know he's probably talking about just what you pick up from the knight. It's not a shadow crystal. And like we mentioned, Asgore as one of the 3 codes. But that's also one reason to think if we do fight Asgore, right, that he could be pretty strong, right? The Black Shard is one of the best weapons in the game, and he has one of those. Just to establish that, it's not a shadow crystal, right? It's its own item.
Which still sets up the need for a secret boss, because if Asgore had a shadow crystal, we could just get it from him and wrap it up.
Yeah. And I do not, Charlie, I don't know if you added something. I do not have a slide over what we think the secret boss is going to be this chapter.
I have 2 possibilities, and then I just have some stuff that I'm going to talk about that I didn't type out. But I've added some secret boss stuff.
Let's get into the characters and then mention that.
Okay, sounds good.
I think that'll be a good place to put it. Liam, anything you want to say before we move on?
No.
Okay, so this section is like individual characters and what's going to happen with them. Asgore's flowers, I think pretty much everyone is in agreement that these guys are going to be their own characters. And kind of my idea for it was again, if a lot of this chapter is going to be about Asgore and his kind of internal conflict, that maybe each of the flowers could represent a different side of him. Like one represents like love and then guilt or regret. That's just an idea. But they're for sure going to be characters, right? I think
they're for sure going to be characters, and I think they will for sure at least have some form of inspiration off of the souls from Omega Flowey's fight.
Yeah.
In some capacity.
And I think I've mentioned that I think I've talked about this with both of you. Like, we know one of the soul attacks is in the Deltarune Chapter 5 trailer, specifically the Cyan Soul. So again, we're not going to bring up secret boss stuff just yet. But they're 100% going to be Darkners. And I saw someone bring up a good point on Twitter earlier, which is that they could be like Asgore's guards, and if anything, the Darkeners in this Dark World will probably love Asgore, right? Asgore takes very good care of his flowers, and I think like they are gonna see him as like this like kind, benevolent ruler.
Hmm.
Um, so I think it makes perfect sense. Like, oh, they're Darkeners, maybe they're his guards, but regardless, they're going to be very important.
Yeah.
Agreed.
All right, let's see. Oh, and then Charlie, you have a slide here over Flowey.
Okay, so this is like not important in the slightest, in my opinion. However, I wanted to include it because if I am right, I want the record to show that I have been expecting this.
Sure.
So I think we're gonna get a flower. First thing we see when we enter the Dark World, and it's gonna be like, "Hi, I'm Petals. Petals the flower," or something like along those lines, right? So everyone's expecting Flowey, right? Like, oh my gosh, this thing's gonna kill me, like villain, okay? But in reality, he's just a guy, and like he's just a flower that's helping us out. Like he's just a chill guy, and the whole chapter you're gonna have like some fake bait and switches. It's like take these friendliness pellets, but they actually heal you. Like just any number of like Flowey references. If Flowey was actually who he was claiming to be at the very beginning of the Undertale. And I put a picture of Tad Strange because similar thing. Everyone thought he was gonna have something going on, but he was just Tad Strange.
And I think that's really funny. And then we can mention him later. This also reminds me, I do not have a slide over Asriel, and
I do not either.
in the beginning of the game, Toriel says Asriel will be here next week, and Chapter 4 took place on Sunday, which is the beginning of the week. So it's free game on when Asriel could be showing up. We'll talk more about him later, I guess. Okay, I am really excited to talk about this. I think that this is where Sans is going to become like a really, really important character. Because I think all three of us in here are a pretty strong believer that Sans originally comes from that not only is the Sans in this game the same Sans from Undertale, but that he originally comes from this game.
Absolutely.
So wait, which one would take place before the other if
Deltarune for sure.
Okay.
So, and now when we get into like the timeline of W.D. Gaster, that's really confusing. We'll talk about him later. But I think if a big part of this game is going to be seeing how that works, why Sans is here and ends up there, I think this is the time. If there's going to be any major characters left in the rest of this game, this is the chapter to introduce them. Because after this, we only have 2 chapters left, presumably.
And
right?
there's supposed to probably be like, they're supposed to. Man, I'm so sorry. What was I saying?
No, it's cool.
They are supposed to be more high stakes chapters, so there's no room for introductions really.
Now
This one is more lighthearted, is it not?
This is the last lighthearted one.
This is maybe a good time to talk about that. Toby did say that we'd be going on one more fun adventure, but it's almost impossible to know when he's lying, right? Because I've heard some people say maybe the characters are going to be trying to have a good time and then some horrible stuff happens. I have no idea.
Would also make sense because it's the festival. They're like, let's make the best of today, and then it ends up being horrible.
And they've been talking about this festival for a while too.
For sure, since the second chapter, I think.
Yeah.
But real quick, going back to Sans, so chapter 4 ends, we see Sans with Toriel, right? Which also ties into Undertale. We know there's kind of a romantic connection between them, and I think what pushes Asgore to retreat into the Dark World and not sell flowers. Excuse me. Is he's going to see Sans with Toriel, and it's just going to be too much, and he's going to leave, right? Because he's been rejected the whole game, and I think this is probably the tipping point for him. But I think maybe he could go from hating Sans to really liking Sans, right? I said that I think Sans is going to be in the Dark World with our heroes, and I think maybe Sans could also be a character who has suffered some sort of loss, right? I don't know. I don't want to say we're going to get a WD Gaster mention yet, but maybe Sans could mention, oh, I've lost a brother in the past, and he relates with Asgore that way.
Right.
So, but regardless, I think yeah, that is like we see his relationship with Toriel, and that's what gets Asgore to go in. I also have here, I I kind of want to say no Papyrus appearance.
Hold on, you cut out.
Do what?
You get 1 second. You cut out on my end at least.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. You're
Okay.
good.
I want to say this. We're still not gonna get any Papyrus. I don't know. I feel like he's gonna be saved for some huge moment later. Because I kind of feel
Can
like,
I
do what?
go ahead? Sorry. Can I
'Cause,
comment on that? Because I also would like. I think you are right, and here's why.
yeah. Here, I'll finish up my thought real quick, and then you
Okay.
can.
Yeah, my bad. Sorry. Go ahead.
Because like, I kind of think that Toby Fox does not want Papyrus to be this huge character. I think he kind of wants him to leave. I think he wants Papyrus to be this comedic relief character and not play this big dramatic role in the story. So I think it kind of makes sense to just keep this ongoing joke of him staying in his house, and then maybe I don't know. I don't know when we'll see him, but I think it won't be until later. All right, Charlie, you want to say
I
something?
think he is definitely a child.
Oh, you think so?
I think he is a child, and I think him appearing in Undertale is why I don't think he ever ends up leaving his house in this game. And that's why he's just completely like not phased by the fact that they're in a completely different place. You know?
Yeah, and like, and Liam, I don't think you know this. I don't think I've shown this to you, but like, excuse me, to Toby Fox did a Q&A. I think I don't know where it was, maybe on the Undertale website, or whatever. But he did a Q&A as Sans and Papyrus, and uh, uh, and one of the people asked, "Where did you live before Snowden?" And Papyrus answers the question, and he seems kind of unsure. He says like, "Oh, before Snowden, there was like green grass, which there is no grass in the underground besides where you meet Asgore." So, and then Sans interrupts, and Papyrus leaves. So, I think that I kind of agree with Charlie. Is that the only? Why would he not know? Right? Why would he not remember where he lived before? And I like that theory, Charlie, that he could just be a child, that he's too young to remember.
Right. Because he is his little brother. So
That is true.
there's grounds for, oh, when you're little, you don't remember the place you lived. Like, I don't remember living in Pennsylvania because I lived there for when I was like really
Yeah.
little,
So I think that's a plausible theory, right? Because like, why else would Papyrus just not know, right? Unless there's been some sort of like memory wipe. And here in a second, I want to mention Sans' secret room, but I haven't asked. I want to make sure, Liam, was there anything you wanted to add to that about Papyrus before we move on?
More, I guess kind of a question. What makes it so definite that Deltarune is before Undertale?
It's a good question. Something I should mention. I think I mentioned this to you before you started playing Deltarune. Excuse me. You know when you get back, you're exploring hometown at night, and there's like a song that's playing. Um, that song is called "The Place Where It Rained," and in
Yes, you've
Undertale,
told me about this.
do what?
You've told me about this.
Yeah, and then yeah, in Undertale you have the song "It's Raining Somewhere Else." But I think because in Undertale you have this secret room with Sans, where it seems to reference that he used to come from somewhere else, right? And you have this machine in the corner, and I think kind of the consensus. And Charlie, you can chime in here in a second too.
Gladly.
Is that Sans is somehow transported to the Deltarune universe, and whatever this machine is behind this like cloth or whatever is either he came to Undertale with this, or him and maybe Alphys built it to try and get back. I'm trying to remember. Is there what other evidence is there that Sans comes from here? Is there anything I'm missing?
Okay, so
Oh, hold on. I just
also,
remembered, but you keep talking.
shopkeeper dialogue.
Oh yes.
We have the shopkeeper in Snowden. You ask about the skeletons, and she says, "Oh, well, they just appeared one day." So there's kind of a grounds to say, okay, like, also we have the end of Undertale. We don't have the end of Deltarune, and we don't see them leave in Undertale. So it only makes sense for Deltarune to be first.
Okay.
And I think another piece of evidence is in the genocide fight with Sans. Because you have that dialogue with him as you're fighting, um, and he says, "Hey, I stopped trying to go back a long time ago," and you think he's talking about like the surface, right? Because you have no reason to think otherwise. But then he follows that up by saying, "And going to the surface doesn't really appeal anymore either." Emphasis on the word either, as in that's separate than what he was talking about just a second ago. Um,
Yeah.
so, and then knowing that, right, you have the cafe scene with Sans and Undertale, and he starts off the conversation by saying, "Boy, you must really want to go home. Hey, I know the feeling." And again, you think he's talking about the surface, but with this secret room and what he says in the genocide fight in mind, it's like, oh, that's really strong evidence that, oh, he comes from somewhere else, and through some sort of tragic event, he ends up here. Um, I think that's kind of like generally the agreed consensus. Um, am I
So
missing anything, Charlie? I
if
think
that
that's it.
if that is true, then couldn't a lot of the dialogue that Sans has just be hinting at the ending of Deltarune?
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
Oh yeah, for sure, yeah.
And touching, I have one more touching on this, and then we'll go and do like other characters besides Sans. Um, Again, when you interact with the stuff in his room, uh, you have the dialogue where you see a photo of, or it's not a photo. I think it's a drawing. Oh no, it is a photo. I
It
thought it was.
says there's a photo album inside the drawer. There's a lot of photos, or photos of Sans with people you don't recognize, and one photo of you standing with Sans and all your. Oh, sorry, wrong thing.
Um,
Um, a card is sticking out from the back of the binder. It's a poorly drawn picture of three smiling for people. Written on it, "Don't forget."
um, and right as we know, the name of the song in the chapter one credits is "Don't Forget," and I think most people assume that this drawing here that that the three people are Chris, Susie, and Rouse. I think that's kind of the agreed consensus. And another reason you'll notice here, it says it's a photo, and then when it's talking about Deltarune, presumably, it says it's a drawing. I think the reason why it's a drawing and not a photo is I think this is made in the Dark World, right? Again, if I'm correct, and Sans is in there with you, I think that's when he becomes friends with you and you become close. And I think either in chapter 5 or some point later in the game, since Rouse cannot go outside, you would not be able to take a photo of Rouse. So instead, they
Right.
make a drawing together, and that's what that is.
That that makes sense. And all,
Yeah.
or alternatively, similar though, is when he gets to Undertale, the first thing he does is draw the guys just in case there's some kind of memory wipe with transferring, because Sans is a pretty smart guy.
Yeah,
Like, if just in case there's some kind of memory wipe with transferring universes, Sans draws them down really quick and says, "Don't forget," so he can kind of keep refreshing that thought of them in his mind.
Yeah.
yeah. So I think that's generally what most like we're not covering a lot of breaking ground here. I think this is what most people agree on.
Right.
But so like I think again, and we will get into Gaster later, but I think Sans probably he's like a very tragic character. I think he probably had some sort of lonely upbringing, right? He probably lives alone with Papyrus as a child, right? If we go along with Charlie's theory. Um, Again, we'll talk about Gaster later, but I imagine Gaster is not here with us, and maybe he lost Gaster at some point. And then it makes it all the more tragic. He makes all these friends in hometown, and then he ends up in Undertale, and
Right.
is separated from everybody. Um, but I think that's his role here. Is he's in the dark world? He becomes friends with you, and then which starts closing the gap between Sans Undertale and Sans Deltarune.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else we want to say about Sans before we move on?
I'm all good.
Okay, let's talk about Rouse. So I know this is Liam's goat. I'm sure he'll probably have a lot to say. I
Yeah, so
actually am not that confident in my predictions here. I might lead this up mainly to Charlie and Liam. Um, this is so difficult because I think there is so much that could happen in Chapter 5 where I'm really not that confident about the rest of the slides here. Um, but I think Rouse will be a really important character, uh, right? Especially since Rouse knows about the prophecy, and we'll probably get more prophecy stuff here. Like we already speculated that maybe Rouse is going to die, and that's what that last prophecy is. Um, but maybe something I think might happen is we know Rouse is very self conscious. We know he kind of has like existential dread. Um, and I think maybe something that could happen is maybe he's tempted by the flowers, the Darkner flowers, because we know Asgore lives in this world, and he's in this like fantasy that he's made for himself, and maybe Rouse is drawn to that. Maybe in an effort to stop Rouse from helping the heroes, they try to draw Rouse in by offering him this life here. I don't know. That's just my guess on how Rouse's kind of character arc will be continued. But ultimately, I'm really not that confident about that. So, Charlie, I know you have thoughts about Rouse in this chapter. You want to go?
Okay, so essentially, my thoughts on Rouse is I think this is going to be his breaking point, right? So we have this people pleaser who is, oh, Darkners are meant to serve Lightners, right? And he's about to be surrounded by a bunch of Darkners serving a very currently insecure Lightner, right? Sorry. Asgore is experiencing a lot of confidence issues, whether he is expressing those outwardly or not, okay? So I think he's going to realize that his role isn't necessarily just to please everyone else, and he's going to start having kind of a will of his own, which is going to go into one of my secret boss possibilities. But I think that Rousey's character arc this chapter will be seeing all of these Lightners worshiping Asgore and realizing that he has feelings and he has emotions and that he's allowed to feel those, and then that's okay, you know?
Uh huh.
And I don't think that I think it's going to be a perfect parallel for Asgore. Like, oh, I can't change this. Rousey doesn't think he can change the prophecy, but he's been trying to like almost hide that, you know. And we see that with the chapter 4 dialogue options, where we can either tell Rousey just keep smiling, or it's okay to cry, you know, or whatever it's termed that way.
Uh huh.
I think Rousey is finally going to be like, I don't want to lose you guys. I don't want to lose the Dark Worlds. And he's going to have a breakdown scene where he realizes it's okay to express his emotions to his friends because they love him.
And like following up on what you just said, because like I also think we're going to get some sort of breakdown scene. Um, and more specifically, I think Rouse could temporarily turn to stone. Because we were introduced to the idea that Darkners can turn to stone. And in chapter 2, we're just told this happens when they're in a dark world they don't belong in. But then in chapter 3, right, Lancer is in there, but he does not turn to stone. Um, and when you're right before you fight Tenna, right, and kind of all of TV world falls apart, it's the natives of the Dark World are the ones to turn to stone instead of the Darkners who don't belong there.
Like the Pippins and yeah.
Yeah, and like I think the implication of that is it's not being in a wrong dark world that turns you into stone. It's being in a dark world where you don't have a purpose. And
Mm.
Rousey's purpose so far has been fulfilling the prophecy. And now that we're in the part of the game where they're like the prophecy is almost like the villain of the game, right? They're trying to figure out a way out. And yeah, like you said, like I think we get to a point where Rousey he just has this existential dread. He doesn't know what he's supposed to be anymore, and maybe he turns to stone. But
Right.
again, like Charlie, you mentioned, like, oh, he has these friends, and that's the purpose of his life. then maybe we get this really heartwarming scene where they comfort him and they say, "No, we love you just for you being our friend," and then he's able to move on. But like, I think the Darkness turning into stone is going to come up at some point. I remember Liam. I had this conversation with you. The excuse me. That in storytelling, there's a narrative device called Chekhov's gun, where if the story brings
Yeah.
if the story brings attention to something for seemingly no reason, it's probably because it's going to be brought up later. And I think that's what's happening with the stone thing, right? Because so far, the Darkness turning to stone has not really had any consequences on the story, but we continue to see it pop up. So I think
Except for Ram. R.I.P. Go ahead, sorry.
Oh yeah, and Ram, right? I think naturally this is when we see it have some sort of actual effect on the characters. So I agree with Charlie. I think that's kind of the broad character arc Rousey is going to go on. And yeah, and in my opinion, we're going to get a Rousey turning into stone scene.
That would be so tough.
I know it'd be
like,
heartbreaking.
Yeah, it would be heartbreaking, but it would also be so narratively like fantastic for the story. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, and and we're gonna because yeah, I agree. Right, I think, and like Rousey, he can travel between dark worlds. Right, he seems to have this power over them that none of the other Darkness have. And so I think it kind of makes sense that he's kind of one of the most powerful characters, and so if he is breaking down, it makes sense that he kind of loses that power, and yeah. So I think that's where it's headed. I know Rousey is Liam's favorite character though, so I want to give Liam a chance to talk. Rousey, Liam, do you want to say anything about Rousey here?
You guys said a lot of stuff that I think sounded really cool. I don't really want to see bad things happen to Rousey, obviously. Like I like Rousey. But I unfortunately think it needs to happen. The whole time, it's like you guys said, like people pleaser. He's like trying to think of the words. I can't think of the words. I don't know how to talk right now.
No, it's okay.
You guys, Rousey's personality, and maybe it would be kind of cool to be like, see Rousey be like, oh, maybe I don't like why am I here? You know, and then turning stone because like you said, they turn to stone whenever they don't feel like or not whenever they don't feel like, whenever they don't have a purpose, and him feeling like he doesn't have a purpose could make him turn to stone. And then we could get like a thing where it's like you have Susie and Chris kind of talking to Rousey, and you kind of get like a moment where it's like a reassurance moment for Rousey almost. And with that, you could still get the breakdown scene, which I think would be really good. I agree with everything you said on that. I think that would be amazing.
For sure.
It'd be hard to watch because I love Rousey, but
yeah,
but it'll be I think it'd be good.
This is all assuming he makes it out of this chapter. Like for the
Oh
record,
God.
he does not stay stone.
Because like if we are correct, or if I'm correct, I should mention I primarily believe this. Like if that last prophecy in chapter 4 is implicating Rousey specifically, which again I think it does, and Susie singles out him specifically, then if the prophecy does come true, that means Rousey would have to die. But again, it seems the direction the game is headed is that we will subvert the prophecy in some way. But Toby Fox also said the game only has one ending, so I don't know how that's I don't know how that is supposed to work. If we are going to subvert the prophecy, I don't know how we can do that, and the game also only have one ending. I know
it could be one of the things. It's like where we start to veer off from the prophecy, and then another character comes in that's like just overwhelming for like all of our characters and sets it back into place.
And I like that theory. And like I think another thing that could happen is like Toby Fox also said, because because again, he said the game only has one ending, and he says, well, okay, well, doesn't that mean none of my choices matter? And I think in response to that, he said there are some things that matter more than how it ends. And so I think like another kind of theme of the game is like that's kind of a metaphor for death. That yes, there it is going. Maybe the game is going to end with some sort of horrible fate for our characters, but that doesn't mean they can't live this great life and make meaningful connections, because it's kind of been Rousey's whole thing is I think he knows he is going to die, because I think that he knows there is something bad at the end of the prophecy that he thinks they can't avoid, and that's why he has such self-conscious he's so self-conscious of himself, because he thinks, why should I be my own person, why should I make these connections with people if I'm just going to die in like 3 days. And so I think Rousey's character arc is it's supposed to symbolize like why the game only has one ending is maybe the game does have this it's not going to end the way we want, but we can change the things that happen along the way there. That's kind of my thoughts. What do you think?
That's good.
I agree. Yeah.
So yeah, regardless.
Another thing.
Oh, sorry. Continue.
Another thing is earlier you had mentioned something about a devastating accident. It was around whenever we were talking about Sans.
Yeah.
A devastating thing, and that devastating thing, it could be that they veered off from the prophecy and it didn't go as planned.
Yeah, because like we don't Rousey doesn't know what will happen outside of what he knows about the prophecy. So
yeah,
it could be that we do manage to change things and we still don't get the desired outcome. So I think that's a possibility. Regardless, I can totally see Rousey being the most important character in this chapter under like Asgore maybe. But regardless, he's going to be super important.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else we want to say about Rousey, or do we want to move on to Chris?
I'm good to move on to Chris.
All right, cool. So Chris, I think I only have one slide on Chris. I am not super confident on where I think Chris's character is going to go, because we've gotten a lot of subtle characterization for Chris. Like in chapter 3, we learn a lot about Chris's upbringing, kind of through Tenna. But I think obviously Asgore and Toriel's divorce is going to be a significant plot point. So I think we kind of have to see Chris's feelings on that. Like I think maybe Chris is the one to convince Asgore at the end, right? Like if we're gonna have this emotional ending where Asgore has to move on, then maybe who better than to talk him off the cliff than his son? And also in chapter 1, right, Asgore gives Chris this like big bear hug, and he knows that Chris doesn't like that. So I think it could be like a full circle moment, character arc, where maybe Chris is the one to hug Asgore at the end, and then that's what resolves Asgore's like conflict.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, like Chris not liking that hug and then doing it at the end, it could kind of symbolize him coming to peace, right, with his family's history, right, and being okay with his dad their dad and their mom not being together anymore.
Right.
And I still, again, we know Chris works with the Knight, and we're all speculating like when is Susie going to find out, right? Because Rousey, I think, already knows. I don't think there's like we're all predicting some sort of liar revealed moment where the truth is revealed to Susie, and we get some sort of like I don't know heartbreak. I don't think that's going to happen this chapter. I think Chris's affiliation with the Knight is going to remain a secret, and then maybe we get that in chapter 6.
I agree, and going off that same thing, I don't think we're gonna have any vessels mentioned. Like
I agree.
I think the vessel and Knight connection will be saved for later. I think we have to be in the bunker to start that kind of stuff.
And just so everyone knows, like when we say the vessel, we're referring to the character you create at the very beginning of the game. Just in case anyone's watching that doesn't know. So I agree with Charlie. I think I think all that stuff and Gaster stuff, right? If because I kind of think chapter 6 will be in the shelter, and then I don't know where chapter 7 will be. Maybe a fountain will be made in hometown or something. Um, but regardless, that's what I think. This is this is something that I think will happen with Chris. As I think uh, Chris is going to play a large part in resolving Asgore's conflict. But Chris is still up to shenanigans, and Susie is going to remain oblivious for that about that until next chapter at least. But again, I really don't know what else to say about Chris. That's all I have. Liam, you want to say anything?
Honestly, no. I I don't know like really what to say about Chris, because a lot of the moments that, or the way I perceive that Chris has with the soul in chapter 4, they're kind of just funny to me. I I don't I don't really know what to say. It's not that I have nothing to say. It's that I don't really know what to say.
Yeah, because
It's that,
Chris is still largely a mysterious character.
yeah, and which I don't mind, but I kind of do wish that we'd get a little bit more on it. Because, oh, what was it? Was it chapter 1 when he first rips his heart out at the end?
Yeah.
Yeah, or the soul. Um, I was like, wait, that I was like, that's wow, and that's what made me want to keep playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Because we don't
but
know, we still we still don't really know what Chris's relationship is with the soul, right? Because Chris seems to hate the soul, especially if you play the weird route, right? In chapter
yeah,
4, it like you get the scene of Chris kicking the trash can with the soul in it. Like he hates what or excuse me, they hate what the soul makes them do. Um, but Chris keeps the soul with them anyway, and we don't know why. We don't know why Chris has to have the soul. So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Liam. I guess I wanted to throw that out there.
no. That's also another thing that I was going to bring up was the weird route stuff in chapter 2.
Uh-huh.
It's like you kind of get an expansion of, I guess, the end of chapter 1 in chapter 2, but you don't get as much unless you do the weird route, which I do. So I don't know.
I
There's
see
not
what
much
you're
to say
saying.
about Chris.
Um, Charlie, is there anything else you want to say about Chris before we move on? I guess.
Um, I think probably somewhere near the end of the chapter we're gonna have not a big reveal with Chris, but we're gonna have what we get every chapter, which is Chris doing some shenanigans without the soul in some capacity. Possibly. However, I'm not actually that sure on that or what that will look like. So I'm good.
Yeah, and like we do know Chris like is slowly becoming maybe more he he or excuse me they're slowly becoming more autonomous maybe like we get the scene in chapter 4 where they play the piano right by themselves
Right.
because normally we're controlling Chris almost 100% of the time, and that's a big moment that the game even brings attention that Chris is playing the piano by themselves. And the whole game, anytime we've tried to play the piano, it sounds horrible, right? Because we the player are the one doing it, not Chris. And Susie even
Mm-hmm.
brings attention to that. She says like, your mom used to tell me that your mom told me that you were great at piano. Why do you suck? Which then Chris plays it by themselves. So maybe again, and I think this ties into maybe what I said earlier. Like again, maybe if we get that hug between Chris and Asgore, Chris does it completely by themselves. It's not a choice that we make Chris do.
Yeah.
So I think we'll get more of that. We'll see more Chris being independent. Otherwise, I really have no idea what else to say about Chris.
Yeah.
Chris is kind of a wild card.
Uh, I do. Do we think that the soul will eventually go into the vessel instead of Chris?
It's a good theory because uh, because kind of what a lot of people would think is like maybe the resolution to Chris's character arc is separating with the soul. Or I know
Yeah.
others might say that maybe Chris learns to live with the soul. But everyone thinks the vessel's going to come in at some point. So I do think that's a possibility. But
We
I
will
really have
either
no idea.
fight the vessel as Chris, or we will fight Chris as the vessel.
Okay.
Because I know there's like shout out to my Spooky Dude fans in here. Anyone who watches Spooky Dude on YouTube, I know the quote on the what it is called the Cressel theory is really popular. That Chris is the vessel. I'm not quite sure I buy into all that, but really I really have no idea. Chris is probably the character I feel the least confident about in terms of what's going to happen with them this chapter. I guess you guys ready to move on?
I'm ready.
Yes.
Okay, let's see. Okay. I know we're taking a while. If we need to, we can speed up. Because I know we're at an hour and a half right now. Okay, Susie and Noelle. I'll say what I have planned here. Although I'm going to go ahead and give a heads up. I think there's one big problem with what I have with Susie and Noelle, and I'll go into that later. But kind of what I thought was going to happen is, so we know Susie is taking Noelle to the festival. And so I think that's another reason why Noelle is going to be in there with us. But then that brings the question, well, if Sans is also there, which we don't know for sure, but that's what I predict, then that's a lot of characters, right? That would be 5 characters in the group. And last time we had that many characters was Chapter 2. And in Chapter 2, it split up the characters. You had Rouse and Susie on their own. You had Chris with Noelle. And then occasionally Burley or Queen would show up.
Burgley.
Yeah. I don't even want to make any predictions about Burley. I don't know if he's going to be here. So I think the same is going to happen here. I think the characters will split up. Just so we can, I don't know. I feel like that makes it easier to have character moments with them as if they're apart. So I think there's going to be a moment where Susie and Noelle get separated. I don't know, maybe the knight shows up and they get separated or something. And then Chris and Rouse are with Sans. Because obviously there's this romantic tension between the two of them. So I think that makes sense that they're together. And we know part of Noelle's character arc is becoming more independent and not being afraid to be herself. And I think Susie will continue to kind of reinforce that, right? They'll get like a little adventure together. I also think this is when Noelle learns the truth that this is not a dream but a dark world. Because right now she is still under the impression that everything that happened in Chapter 2 was just a dream. So I think this is when she learns the truth of it all. And let's see. Oh, and I think, again, Susie's saying, Susie's telling Noelle that she should be herself and she should like herself for who she is. And I think Noelle will teach her that same lesson as well. Because Susie obviously starts the game not being a very good person. And they continue to kind of have insecurities about their sense of self. So I think it's kind of the thing where they learn from each other. Oh, I don't know why I say part 1 here. I just go straight to Carol.
Before we move on,
Yeah.
I do think Weird Route, Noelle is going to have a freak out scene.
Oh, for sure.
As soon as she enters the Dark World. Whereas I think Normal Route, she's going to be a little more chill.
I agree. Liam, have you seen the Weird Route stuff for 4?
Yeah.
Or are you in the dark about that?
Oh, for 4? I don't think so.
I guess
I can watch it later.
Yeah, I mean, basically the gist of it is we're pretty sure that a soul is beginning to form inside of Noelle. So some horrible stuff is going to happen, probably.
Yeah,
and
real bloodbath.
So I don't know. But that's what I have about them. Again, I think it makes sense for them to be together. The one big flaw with this theory, and I mentioned this to Charlie, is that so far through the 4 chapters, we never see things from another character's point of view. We only see things from the soul's perspective, right? Because like in Chapter 4, we get that scene where the soul goes through the vents and we see Asgore alone, but we're seeing it because we're the soul. So I don't know how this would work if characters are going to get split up, Because in chapter 2, when we visit the character, like we do see Rouse and Susie on their own, but it's because we're seeing them from like a distance. So if this is
I
going to
mean,
happen, I don't know how it works unless.
weird route wise, we have a soul tie to Noelle now.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
So that makes sense, but just for pacifist, again, I really feel like at least some characters are going to be split up. So unless it's Chris that's with them, and then I don't know. Or another theory is like, again, so far in each chapter, we've had a moment where Rouse asks Chris to close their eyes, and that's how we see things from another character's perspective, right? Right, we get that moment in chapter 4 where we see Susie talk with Gerson because Chris closed their eyes. So we could see it through there. I can see that happening. But otherwise, I think this makes sense for them to be together. So, anything else we want to say about Susie and Noelle before we move on?
No.
Okay, Carol. Now, I think this is an outdated slide. I think Carol's going to have a much bigger role than what I initially thought. I think she might be in here too. And if Asgore is not the main villain, then maybe she's the main villain and Asgore is like a secondary villain.
You think she's going to be in the Dark World?
Maybe. I mean, we need to learn about her eventually. And if the end of the chapter is really when things hit the fan, I don't know where else we're supposed to learn about her. Because we know she knows about the Dark Worlds, right? She has the corkboard in her room. She is teamed up with Chris, or at least the Soul. So, I don't know. We got to see her at some point, and I don't know where else. Also, like, we know the chapter has Japanese influence, and we're probably going to see some samurais. I can totally see her as, like, a samurai.
Yeah.
Right? Because she's kind of cold and intimidating. And
right.
she has the katana in her room, right?
Yes, in the kitchen.
Now, some people think that means she's the knight, but I do not think Carol Knight.
She doesn't have enough swagger to be the knight.
I do not think Carol's the knight. Now, obviously, I'll go into my theories on who the knight is later. But I think it would make sense to see here too. And again, and also maybe she also doesn't want Asgore to leave the Dark World, right? She knows the Fun Gang is there for the code, so maybe she is also like a boss, right? Maybe she is also trying to stop the heroes. But I do think we will learn. I think the heroes will learn about her partnership with Asgore, right? Because we learned. I told you guys about the cork board, or what we think is a cork board, in Asgore's shop, but we do not know where that cork board is, which means I think it is in the secret room where the Dark World is, which means I think it'll show up in the Dark World somehow. And I think the heroes will run into that, and that is how they learn that that Asgore, Carol, maybe Rudy are in this scheme together. So I think that for sure happens, and then I think Carol will probably also be in here too.
I know for a fact she can't be in there the whole time because I don't think it's logically possible for her to be able to be away from the festival all day and no one gets suspicious.
That is true because she's the mayor.
Right.
So, but regardless, I think, right, she had her debut in chapter 4. I think she is going to play some sort of like antagonistic role here. Liam, anything you want to say about? I have part 2 right here. Anything else you want to say about Carol before we move on?
She's creepy, and I think that she'll definitely be a bigger character, if not this chapter in the next.
She is indeed creepy.
I agree. It's just like because I kind of think the shelter is chapter 6, and it will not be the final chapter. So I think if she's gonna show up, and we're gonna because like we've been introduced to a character, but like we don't really know that much about her. I think, and she has connections to Asgore, so like I think it makes total sense for her to pop up here, at some point as a mini boss, maybe. I don't know, but she'll be here in some form. Okay, I forgot the slide was here. One thing I want to mention about Susie and Noelle, excuse me, is I think this is when we will get an official introduction to December's backstory. Because who else for Noelle to open up about her missing sister than Susie? So, and maybe that's when right? Maybe that's when Rousey asked Chris to close their eyes. So I think this is when we get the official introduction. Because Des has been mentioned, right? Noelle mentions Des in chapter 2. We get the spelling bee, where Noelle fails the spelling bee because they asked her to spell the name December. Tenna mentions her in chapter 3, and then we go into her room. But, like, we have not gotten to a moment in the game where it ever says, hey, this is... The game has never stopped and said, hey, this is who this character is and what we know about her right now. And we have to get that at some point. And I don't see the game waiting any longer than chapter 5 to actually tell us who this character is. So I expect there to be a scene, maybe between the two of them, where we get official Des holiday backstory. Charlie, got any thoughts or anything?
I have to agree with you on that one. I think this is the perfect time because, like, realistically speaking, I don't know when we're gonna get a low stakes Susie and Noelle moment for them to be talking about something that isn't happening right in front of their face after this. So I think that having this chapter almost set the framework for who Des is and kind of how she disappeared will lead straight into our big reveal in chapter 6 or at the end of this chapter or whenever it may be.
Because like,
so I agree.
And maybe this conversation again, if they do run into the corkboard, which I think they will, like, I don't know if it's been established that Susie knows who Des is. Like, we know who Chris knows who Des is since they grew up together, but maybe this whole thing starts by they run into the corkboard. Susie sees the name Des on there, and he asks who that is or what this is all about, and then that's when Noelle talks about it. I could see that being how this happens. But regardless, I think 100%. Like, we have to get something here. The game cannot wait till chapter 6 to make like an official introduction to who this character is.
Correct, right.
So it sounds like we're on the same page. Okay, the Knight. I'll go into who I think this is later. I hate to say this.
I want to say one thing.
Yeah.
I have absolutely no predictions about the Knight. I don't know what to think.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Okay, I was gonna mention this later. I'll mention it now. I'll go into detail later, but I'll just go ahead and say that most people think it's December, and I think that's the conclusion most people would come to. And I do not think the game expects anyone to believe that Carol is the Knight. Right? It's like the game is making it way too. It's putting Carol way too much in your face. I think the game expects you to believe that Carol is a red herring. But I also think that's kind of the same about December. Is you would expect that this character who has gone missing and is seemingly stuck somewhere to be this mysterious entity. I am a Rudy Knight believer. I think whatever is making Rudy sick is because he is the Knight in the Dark World. I'll go more into that later. But I'm a Rudy Knight believer. I don't know if I've ever asked you what you officially think. But I'm
obviously I think Papyrus. No, I'm just kidding. I've always leaned Des. However, I don't necessarily know if that is the best decision here. Because, like you're saying, it is way too obvious.
Yeah,
but
we're also working with a limited amount of characters. It could be they're not going to throw in some random character that nobody knows.
Yeah,
so
I mean, regardless, we know it is going to be a holiday. Like, unless the game is literally just lying to us with the antlers, right. Unless the game is literally just like just straight up lying, I think it has to be a holiday. And I'm not gonna go... Oh, sorry. Can you finish what you're saying?
No, sorry. I'm gonna still lean Des. Personally, but go ahead. Sorry.
I'm not gonna go into all the Rudy Knight evidence because that's not what the stream is about. But I do find it really compelling. For me, the number. I'll just bring up what I think the most compelling evidence.
Sorry.
Excuse me. Is
you cut out? Go ahead.
Chapter 2. Excuse me. in chapter 2, you explore hometown with Susie, and you can bring Susie to the hospital. Oh, what was that? Am I still on here?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, sorry, my computer made some noise.
You're good.
Rudy is very friendly to Susie in chapter 2, but what I did not know until like last month is if you do not talk to Rudy in chapter 2 with Susie, and you wait to introduce Susie to him after chapter 3, right when you fight the knight, he's very cold towards her. Like he asked Chris why they brought Susie with them. He says, "You brought Susie with you? That's crazy," and he seems kind of like pissed off. So that could be, if Rudy is the knight, it could be because they just had this huge fight where he had to fight Susie. Otherwise, I do not know why they would make that change for him to be very hostile towards her the first time he's meeting her, unless he's meeting her right after they just had their fight. So that's kind of what compels me for Rudy Knight, is that's a really strange moment, and I don't see any explanation for it other than, he was the knight and they just had this huge battle. But I won't go into detail more than that. But all I'm gonna say is that I'm a Rudy Knight guy.
No, that checks out.
Okay. Anything else you want to say about the knight until I guess the end?
I think I'm good.
I'm good.
Okay. Okay. These
Chapter
are
5, Secret Bosses.
All right. These are Charlie's slides, I think. So I'm gonna let him take center stage here.
Okie dokie, artichoke. So basically, I have like 2 slides here, but like 3 or 4 possibilities. Okay. So just for starters, we got possibility number 1, which I believe to be the Flowey Soul reprise. Okay. So we have our flowers that we see here in Asgore's flower shop, and each of which could be affiliated with a different soul from Undertale, right? We have Cyan, and we're not going to get into the fan theories for what each soul means, justice, whatever. But we have color correlation flowers, like Paul brought up in his first slide. Now, as we saw in the trailer, we have Chris alone fighting a opponent using the same knives we see in the Omega Flowey fight when the Cyan Soul is on screen. Which leads me to come to the conclusion that it's a possibility that the secret boss is us fighting all of these different flowers in waves almost, or we're going to get some kind of Omega Flowey kind of revamp fight, okay? And I think that's kind of possible, but I don't know if we're going to have a solo Chris fight as our last secret boss. I feel like it's a little anticlimactic, especially since we already have the option to do that in chapter 2, But what are y'all's thoughts on that part?
I largely agree with you. I like the idea of the flowers appearing in waves. Like if what I said earlier being with the flowers being guards, I think it makes sense that like maybe they're stationed at different parts of the Dark World and you fight them and they have their respective attacks from Undertale. I think that makes perfect sense, especially if we want to go with the idea that Toby wouldn't want to show off the secret boss in the trailer. Mm-hmm. So that's what I lean towards, but I am not opposed to like an Omega Flowey fight. I just think a fight with all the attacks combined might be redundant if we already get that in Undertale. I think it's more interesting if they're their own respective fights, and then they just have their attack from Undertale as one of their attacks. So that's what I lean towards. I know some people are back on Woody theory because you see the Western Canyons in the trailer, but I'm not going to talk about Woody theory here. But regardless,
hey, I mean, Toy Story 5 does come out this Friday.
True. But other than that, if the flowers are not the secret boss, I have literally no idea who it could be, right? Because I do not think it's going to be Image Friend. I think that's way too big of a character for it to be missable. So I have literally no idea. If it's not Woody theory and it's not the flowers, I don't know. I lean towards them being separate characters.
Right.
Liam, you want to say anything?
I think it's a good idea. I didn't know about the chapter for the knife thing because I have not seen the trailer
Oh
for
yeah.
it. But I think it's a I think it's a very good like idea. I wouldn't be opposed to it. It seems really interesting.
Yeah, like regardless, it's going to be a crazy fight. We also know that it is the last, maybe not the last secret boss, but it is the last Shadow Crystal holder. Since Sham, I think in chapter, when you give Sham the chapter 3 crystal, he says after the next crystal, chapter 4 crystal, the next one is the last one, and then he'll be able to make whatever he's going to make. So regardless, so I think it has to be pretty huge, right? If it's the last Shadow
Yeah.
Crystal. Um, but I know you have another slide here, Charlie, about Rousey. If you want to
So
talk about that.
this is less about who we're fighting and more about how we are fighting them. I think it is possible. Number one, also, I think Noel was definitely edited out of the Chris fight with the soul,
Oh yeah,
but no, or someone was Rousey, whoever it may be. But I think Rousey having a solo fight for this Dark World secret boss would make sense because Susie got her fight last chapter, right?
Yeah.
And I would say chapter 4 was pretty Susie focused.
mm-hmm.
And so for her to learn healing magic, it may be possible for Rousey to be like, I don't know what he could learn, maybe like an attacking spell, but there could be some form of forced fight with Rousey,
Yeah,
almost.
I agree because like we've technically gotten solo Chris fight with Weird Rod Spamton, um, and then actually we with Eram, chapter 3, where Chris does the
Oh,
video game on their own.
yeah. That counts for sure.
And then yeah, like you mentioned, we have solo Gerson fight with Susie, unless you count the Soul, right, as a duo fight. So I think it makes perfect sense if it's just Rousey. Um, so yeah, I agree, and as we've discussed previously, like Rousey is going to be a very important character this chapter. So I think that makes sense. Again, I have literally no idea who the secret boss could be, but I vibe with that theory.
Jockington.
He do be growing the beard though.
Yeah, his final move is that like it's like a cinematic move, and he just grows the beard and it proceeds to wrap. Anyways, that was stupid. Okay, next
No,
slide.
no,
Chapter
no, it's
5, the end.
it's okay. You don't have to apologize. I like the joke. Um, okay. All right, the end. I'm going to preface this by saying, I'm going to preface this by saying, I am, I am almost not confident in any of this. Out of everything we've discussed so far, this was the hardest part for me um, to figure out, and I think that's because much there are so many things that seem to happen in this chapter, right? We have so many characters, right? We have the three main characters, and then we said Sans is going to be here, Carol might be here, Noelle might be here, Asgore's in here. So it seems like such a crowded chapter where I'm just like, I have no idea how it is supposed to piece together in the end. But I have a couple thoughts. Um, uh, 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 I guess how I think. So I do think Asgore will be the main boss, right? It could be Carol, it could be like Friend, but I think it's going to be Asgore, right? I think the story is about him. It's about his conflict. I think it makes sense that you have to force him to leave by fighting him, sparing him, hopefully. Um, so I think eventually, like this fantasy Asgore has made himself, he'll start to see through it, right? He'll start to see how fake it is, and it will stop being enough for him. And maybe seeing Sans in there with the Dark World with him, like that combined with the illusion of the Dark World wearing off, is he becomes enraged, and that's when we see, as Gerson says, the vast garden is encharded in an inferno of jealousy. Like I think we're gonna have this crazy final act, where he goes ballistic and he has to be calmed down, and he turns this beautiful place on fire. And then that's how you get this like epic confrontation with him.
Oh, and that would be so. It's like a field set ablaze.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh
So I think
man.
that'd be awesome. Or maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just Sans, and maybe not him getting tired of the Dark World. Because again, I think, right, the fight needs to be about convincing them that he has to leave. So I think you butt heads. You have no choice but to have this battle with him to get him to learn that the Dark World has to be sealed. Um, I also think this is where the black shard he has will come into play, and he will use this against you. Um, and we'll learn more about where he gets it later, but that's how the fight happens. Is he becomes enraged, right? He gets so upset that he can't make the real world the way he wants it to be, and he like the whole place turns on fire because of him. I think that's how the fight happens. I think.
Mhm.
Before we talk about what happens after that, anyone else have anything to say about that?
No,
We're
I
good?
don't.
That will be such a cool visual.
I
I
know it's
think
gonna be. I'm hyped.
we have to have heartbreak motif and a little bit of Bergen trucking in there.
Listen, I'm telling.
Also,
Oh, sorry.
good.
I was gonna. Again, if I get anything in this chapter, I want Small Shock leitmotif. For those who don't know, that's like the music that plays when you first meet Asgore. It's literally just two notes on repeat, but it's like the saddest it's like the saddest song in the whole game, right? If that plays here, I'm gonna break down, man. So
Also,
that's all I
pro
want from
gamer
this
tip:
chapter.
if you're running a D&D campaign and you want music for like a stoic king, great one.
For sure. Charlie, were you saying something before that? I
Oh,
interrupted you.
this is the worst place to put this, but I completely forgot to say it at the beginning when it was still like all the lighthearted stuff. I 1000% think if you click on Asgore's truck this chapter, it's gonna have some kind of comment about top speed 100 miles an hour
For sure.
or something referencing the song.
Yeah, because Liam, I told you immediately after chapter 4, the most popular fan theory became the idea that Des disappeared because Asgore ran over her with his truck.
Yeah.
And Deltarune likes to poke fun of the community. Maybe one of the best examples of that is chapter 2 came out 3 years after chapter 1. And when you talk to Sans in the store and you ask, he says, "Oh, you can't hang with my brother yet," and you ask when, he says, "I don't know, maybe tomorrow, maybe another 3 years." So there.
Well,
Or I also think the Mike fight is a great example of that.
Oh, for sure. And I still have no idea who Mike is supposed to be. I don't know. We'll save Mike for another discussion, maybe. But
Do we think
regardless,
he's
like,
real? I don't even know if he's real anymore.
because I don't think we've shown Liam, right? Because he just finished chapter 4. But like, because Toby, one of the only chapter 5 sneak peeks we have gotten is if you don't give 10 at a Metaton, you get a scene of him talking about Mike, and he's talking about him like he's a real person, like, and it's not comedic. So it's like, okay, is
What does
Mike
he
this?
What does he say?
Oh, you don't remember when the newsletter came
I
out? Like,
it's been a while.
he says something about like about how he forced Mike to sign some contract, and he's not talking about Spamton, right?
Right.
Because we know Spamton also kind of made a deal with the devil, right? He was on the phone with who we think is Gaster.
Mm-hmm.
So I have no idea. I don't know if Mike is supposed to be this actual character who has like this huge influence on the plot, or if he's just like a giant shitpost and he's not meant to be anything. I don't know. We'll talk about Mike later. Mike's a
Oh,
huge
Mike.
rabbit
Let's
hole.
do a Mike stream. If he's not in chapter 5, we'll all make our profile pictures a different Mike and we'll discuss.
Because last thing I'll say about Mike, I guess, is it's funny. Like, before we got that Tenna Mike scene, and I was watching my brother play through chapter 3, right? I think a lot of us, when we played chapter 3, when Tenna first mentions Mike, right, we're all like, "Yo, Mike? Ain't no way." And then we all
Yes.
thought, "Oh, okay, it's just a huge joke in the community. Mike is nobody." but now it's like I don't know what to think, man.
Well,
So,
I like it keeps going back and forth because once we got the chapter 4 Mike scene, I was like, oh, like
yeah.
it's what
Oh,
Tina says. Just
yeah.
but then now, who
Yeah, and then
knows?
yeah, I didn't finish my joke. Like
I'm sorry.
sorry, I'm talking over you guys. It's my fault. Because my brother had the same reaction. He was like, Mike, and then I just butted in. I say, I'm just gonna tell you right now, Mike is not important at all. But now I don't know, right? So I don't know. We'll
Didn't
talk.
didn't that same thing happen when I finally got around to playing chapter 3 as well?
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
you had the same reaction, but I didn't know Mike. I didn't know the chapter 4 Mike stuff, so I just said, oh yeah, it's gonna be crazy.
right.
So I don't know. Going back to Asgore though, if there was going to be a character to distract us, it would be Mike. Uh, 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 so I think we spare Asgore, hopefully, right? I don't know how it would play out differently if you fought him. Um, but I think I think we're going to get a similar scene to the end of chapter 3. Because in chapter 3 we get that scene where Susie comforts Tenna by saying like, "Hey, like maybe you think no one loves you, but hey, see what happened to me." I think we're gonna get a similar scene, but it'll be Sans maybe, right? Sans. I think we're gonna learn that Sans experienced some loss in his life, and maybe he also tried to make things go back to the way they were, and so he is the character to relate with Asgore here. I think that makes sense. And then we'll get some sort of like resolution with Chris, right? Maybe they hug Asgore. But
Right.
I think it is fitting for Sans to be the one to teach Asgore the lesson here, since Asgore is probably so mad because of Sans, because Sans is with Toriel. So I think what better way to show that Asgore can move on by him forgiving the person who is with his ex-wife. So if again, that is all presuming that Sans is actually a big part of this chapter. But I think that happens, and then I think they're going to prepare to seal the fountain. And then I have some other slides after. But before we get into like the official end, is there anything else we want to say just about this Asgore fight?
No,
We're good.
I don't.
Okay.
I also don't have anything crazy.
So like these two slides, I'm actually fairly confident in. Is these last few slides that like I do not feel very good about at all. So I think after we've defeated Asgore, I think Rouse or someone else will ask what this black shard is and how he got his hands on it. And then this is where I think we officially get the explanation on what was the incident that caused Asgore to be kicked off the Force. Because we mentioned that we're going to see the corkboard earlier. I do not think we're going to see it all there, right? I think that's just going to show that him and Carol are working together. And then I think we only get this information at the end. I think we will learn that Asgore has been in a dark fountain before. And I think what most people think is going to happen is Asgore's on patrol and he sees maybe Des wandering near the shelter. And I think this is when we will officially be introduced to Image Friend. And we'll learn that it was Friend who took Des inside the shelter. And Asgore tried to stop it. I think I have like no evidence to support this. This is just what I think might happen. I think maybe what happens is Asgore runs into the shelter, and maybe he attacks Friend, and maybe he holds his own for a little while. Asgore is very strong, but he's gonna get overwhelmed. But he's gonna get one hit on it, and the Friend is who drops the black shard. Oh, Kaysen's in the chat. You guys don't know Kaysen. He says he's never played this game. Wait, what's up, Kaysen? I'm going to keep talking. I think this is where he gets the Black Shard. And this one moment... And the Black Shard is proof to Asgore that this did happen, right? Because no one believes it. I think probably what likely happened is no one believes Asgore that it was this monster who takes Des. I think people will probably believe Asgore that he isn't the reason why Des disappeared, but they think that he's lying they think that they're gonna probably think that Asgore failed in protecting her in some way, and that he's lying to make himself look better. And this one black shard is the only piece of evidence he has uh, that this actually happened. Um, so before I go further, like, what do we think about that? Do we think that's kind of how we're going to be introduced to Asgore's backstory, or do we have another idea?
I have never had that thought until now, but I like really vibe with it.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be a bad idea.
And then
It'd be cool.
Yeah.
Also, huge fan of this comic panel.
Oh yeah, shout out to this person on Twitter. I didn't ask to use this art, so I hope this live stream with 3 viewers, it's okay to use it. Yeah, great art. So yeah, because I think this is a great visual of what happens. I think he's just gonna stumble into it. And yeah, he sees this horrifying image, and that's our introduction to Friend. Maybe we won't see Friend, and then Friend is revealed later. But at the very least, I think this is. I'm very confident that this is what gets him kicked off the Force. It's what happens after that I really am not sure. So I think maybe what happens after. So Asgore gets the Black Shard from Friend. And then he goes to tell everyone about it. He says, "Oh my God, December is missing." And I think no one believes him except Carol and Rudy. Because we know Carol is in on this plot. We know she's working with Asgore. I don't know if Rudy is Asgore. I said that he is the Knight. But I also have a feeling that Asgore... hold on. Just a second. Someone's trying to talk to me. You're locked out? Sorry, give me just a second, guys. I gotta let my brother in. I'll be like 5 seconds.
All right, Liam. For the Paul is gone question of the hour, what is your favorite part of Chapter 2 of Deltarune, and why is it your favorite part?
Chapter 2? Oh, it would have to be the weird stuff, like the weird route stuff.
Yeah.
I'm back, by the way.
Personally, I really like ice powers and stuff, so that was a really interesting like part of like that whole like situation. Other than that, Chapter 2, I thought it was like really like, I guess, giddy, like happy, like funny, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's like I enjoyed it, but it wasn't super captivating to me, I guess.
I see. Very good. Well, that has been Paul was gone hour. All right, back to Paul.
So I think, so we know, I think Asgore's working with Carol. I don't know about Rudy, but I think we're also going to see here that Asgore is being partially kept in the dark. I don't know. Asgore kind of strikes me as the character that is being taken advantage of. And I think we'll learn that Carol, and maybe Rudy as well, if Rudy is the Knight, have been using him as kind of like a pawn, and Asgore only knows part of the truth. And I think maybe that is when we get either a Knight reveal or when Image Friend shows up. This is the part I literally have no idea about. This is where it goes into me being fairly confident, me having no idea. Because on one hand, I mentioned earlier, I don't know if the Knight's going to be in this chapter very much, but at the same time, it's like, well, the Knight also wasn't in chapter 4 very much. But, like, is the Knight going to be the main villain? And if so, like, don't they kind of have to show up here? But, like, we also have all these other characters. So I literally have no idea how the chapter really ends. Because you have all these characters and all these things that I feel like have to happen, but I don't know where to fit them in. So I feel like we have to see the Knight, right? After we hear this backstory from Asgore, maybe the Knight backstabs him, betrays him in some way, or maybe this is where Friend shows up. But I have no idea. So in terms of how the chapter actually ends, I got nothing. I know that's kind of an anticlimactic way to end, but
no, I mean that's fair.
I mean, what do you guys think? Like, what do we think is happening here at the end?
I don't know. I kind of haven't really thought that far into it. Because like there's no way like if once you think about it, like and then you theorize like the whole thing, you get to the end. In my like the way I view it is like I don't really try and like predict the end because no matter what, it's probably gonna be wrong.
Sure.
So I don't want to get like myself all hype for something that I like or a few things that I like and then get super disappointed when it's not that.
For sure. Because
But
I remember at the end of chapter 2, a bunch of people thought Chris was the knight, and then that ended up being a red herring. So I agree with you, Liam. It's like I feel like I'm very confident in some of the things I've said in this stream, but it's like anything could happen.
yeah.
Um, so I guess just to sum things up, the things I am most confident about, I'm most confident about in what Asgore's conflict will be. Right, I think him not wanting to leave because he likes this place and it gives him everything he wants. I think that makes perfect sense with what we know about him so far and the themes of the game. Like, I think that's like a lock. If I would say I'm 100% confident about anything, I would say that. Other things I am confident about, but maybe slightly less so. Again, I think Sans will be here. I think we'll get December holiday info, and I do think we will get an image friend reveal. I just don't know where or how it's going to happen, because again, I'm in terms of how it actually ends, I don't know. But
Yeah.
that's what I'm most confident on in terms of what's going to happen.
Right.
My biggest hope is just that it's good.
Yeah.
Because Asgore's my favorite. I love Asgore. He's my favorite character in Undertale, despite only being in the game for like 5 minutes. And I think all the things we've mentioned today it's just so interesting. I think this has the chance to be like the most heartfelt, emotional, impactful chapter in the game because it's about
The
a
chances
very
of that are pretty high too, because he did say that it was going to be the last quote unquote adventure.
yeah. So I think it's going to be a heartbreaking chapter. I think I I just feel like I don't want to hype myself too much, but my expectations are really high. I feel like there's so much to do. Um, I just feel like where Asgore is at as a character it just sets up for a really emotional, tragic, compelling story. So even if everything I said in this is wrong, as long as it's good, and if Asgore doesn't die, he can't die, right? Um,
No Asgore deaths. We are letting Asgore
uh,
see the light of
uh,
the new
uh,
day.
uh, 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 um, because if I am right, and the whole theme of the chapter is Asgore learning to move on and and not chase his past, I think that will be undermined a lot if he's like killed by the knight or something, right? I think like
Yeah.
he needs to be allowed to live and go live his new life. So I would say that is the only thing that could happen in this chapter that would really disappoint me. Um, right? I feel like it's a possibility because like tragedy and all, and right we saw Tenna die but live technically at the end of chapter 3 to
Tenno
reveal
was.
the night.
I think we're gonna have another character where if you don't spare everybody, they don't make it because we've had this for the
Maybe.
last two. We
So
had Newbert, I guess. We've had this for the last three.
uh, 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 Newbert. Um, so yeah, those are my hopes, right? I want Asgore redemption, right? I want compelling tragic arc with him. I want him to live. Um, and if Sans is here, that's cool too. But otherwise, my final thoughts, and then I'll let you guys speak. I'm hyped, right? This is really shaping up to be my favorite chapter in the game. Um, and so yeah, that's what I think is going to happen. Um, Charlie, you want to say something, and then we can end it with Liam.
Absolutely, I do. Deltarune tomorrow, next week.
Yo, true words have never been spoken.
I guess for me though, Deltarune tomorrow, like a little bit after that. But I'm not salty or anything.
Sure. Anything else you want to say?
What? Sorry.
Is there anything else you want to say?
Oh well, I am like what you said. I am very much looking forward to this chapter. I'm looking forward to everything that Toby Fox is doing, and I'm looking forward to Rules Card. So I'm excited.
Liam, end us off. What are your final thoughts or hopes?
This is the probably second chapter of Deltarune that I've actually been excited to play, and um, I can't wait to play it. I'll probably end up buying it, and hopefully my Switch is fixed by the time that it's that I can play it. Um, it'll be cool. That's about it. It'll be a really fun time, and we'll be able to talk about it, and that's what I mostly look forward to.
Cool.
Sweet.
Yeah, I agree. So I wanted to do this, right? It's kind of our last chance to really make these predictions before we know forever, and it's such a pivotal chapter, right? I want to do it, especially for this one. Maybe we'll do something similar for like chapter 7 or whatever.
For the whole game review.
Oh, dude, yeah, a whole game
Yeah.
review.
I think when Chapter 7 is released, we do a whole game review, and then in a separate stream, we race the whole game.
Dude, sure. So yeah, this
Yeah.
went on a little bit longer than I thought. We're almost at the 2.5 hour mark. So I'm partially responsible for that. I talk a lot, right? I'm a teacher. I go on for longer than I need sometimes. Otherwise,
fun.
I think this is really cool. Thank you guys for joining. I'll cut this up,
Absolutely.
right? I can edit it a little bit. The VOD, as soon as I'm done streaming, the VOD will be on there, so you guys can go back and rewatch it. Otherwise,
Also, make sure to leave this in on the YouTube video. Shout out to Pix11 on Instagram for doing our super awesome artwork at the beginning of us as Deltarune characters. Very good. 10 out of 10.
For sure. Here it is on the stream one last time. Otherwise,